I would like to then officially call the meeting to order. This is the February 17th meeting of the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board. I'm going to now call the meeting to order, and the first order of business I would like to do is we have had one regular member say that they will not be able to attend, so I'd like to nominate Carolyn to step up as an alternate to be a regular member for the purpose of this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we now have 6. So the next agenda item is to hear, consider, and act upon the minutes of January 20th. Does anyone have any comments that they would like to propose?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I have a couple too, but why don't you start? Because mine were very small and I can.
I'll also note that Prue, our normal recording secretary, cannot be here. She's doing the finance committee meeting, I guess. And I will coordinate with her on the changes to the minutes. And she also can pick it up from the
She's going to
recording.
listen to the recording, I think, too.
Thank you. I would, on item number 2, on first page, item number 2, Turning Creek, South Pine Creek, Rooster River. I would like to just amend that a little bit to say, Turning Creek Tide Gates, it's not Turning Creek, it's the Riverside Creek Tide Gates. So I'd like to change that. No, I take that back. This is Bill's report. The Turning Creek Tide Gates are finished. That's
Let's add tide
correct.
gates.
Add Tide Gates. South Pine Creek, again, I would like to add Tide Gates to be more specific. And then Rooster River, I submit that Rooster River should read Fairchild Wheeler Detention Project, because the Rooster River.
It has 2 different projects.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the Rooster River watershed, but in fact, it's on London's Brook. Rooster River doesn't really start until London's Brook and Horse Tavern Brook come together.
So the bids are really referring to the latter.
Specifically, that's what he did say. It's the Fairchild Wheeler project within the Rooster River watershed.
Okay.
Is Bill going to be here today?
I asked him to. He did not respond yes or no. So
He's in his office.
should I go down and get? One of us go down and get him?
Well,
That'd be
legally,
helpful.
maybe he's watching on the tube and he's gonna come when his number is called.
Maybe I could go down and just check.
He's number 2 on the agenda. So actually, once we finish these minutes, he would be up.
That's all I have. for
Thank you,
the
Greg.
changes
That
to
would be
the
nice. I had a very minor change as well. They were very small edits. I had on item 3, on the second page, Bill Hurley discussed the meeting with the consultant. And I believe that in that meeting, the consultant, Emmeline, and IT were there. They've got right now, IT was there as well as sort of a separate sentence, which looks a little odd. So I would say Bill Hurley, Emmeline, and IT met with the consultant where coastal and riverine situations were reviewed. And then my only other comment was on point 7, discussion of potential climate change and coastal resilience fund for Fairfield. Deep recommending towns use these accounts for funding future risks. Because it's not just any funding for flood and erosion. It's a idea of
Counts for funding of future.
of future risks, yeah. The idea is that this is a fund, like any pension fund, for future capital risks that you expect to see in the future. It's not about today's funding necessarily, although you might choose to use some.
Would you say it's capital funding?
Not necessarily.
Capital project, but not always, because it could be acquisitions.
Yeah.
It could be acquisitions, and it could be current. We could,
Or like Bill has what, 500,000 for repairing
Storm.
culverts, so we could use that money to repair culverts.
yeah, but the idea is not to replace, it's meant to be a supplemental source of funding for sort of future risks that you may not have identified at this point, that you can tap into, and you've got a ready source of
To
funds.
remedy following future risks and/or to avoid future risks? Is it both? Is it?
Both, yeah, it's to
So that's why
manage.
I, like, sometimes remedy is not, could be capital, but it could just be cleanup.
Yeah,
He's going to join us for a short period. He's also got an RTM meeting he's
Yeah,
got to
they're headed
attend
to the
tonight.
RTM now, the budget.
oh, okay, all right, well, So let us skip over then, because so any other comments on the minutes?
Did the budget go to finance? Does it go to finance first?
I think it goes last, doesn't it?
This is the Board of Ed budget, right?
I don't know.
I don't think they've done the town budget yet.
It could be, I don't know. I just saw Christine in the parking lot. She was walking to her car driving to the RTM meeting.
Yeah, I think it's just the Board of Ed at this point. I think all the departments have not presented yet, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
So the town budget is still being reviewed. Anyway, let me go back to the agenda. Are there any other comments on the minutes that anyone else had? If not, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion
Motion to
to
approve.
approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, so we had Greg and then either John or Carolyn.
Let her have it, let her, come on. Let her have it.
All right, so the next agenda item, can I propose that we put that a little later in the meeting? Because that was update and discussion on status of active projects, and we would have Bill join us for
Do we get
that.
to agree on the vote to approve the minutes?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Dick, for keeping us on the straight and narrow. So I'd like to move to item 3 then, if I could, until Bill gets here. And that is discussion nomination of a FERB secretary to take the place of John Fallon, who resigned.
As secretary or from the board?
The board.
He resigned from the board. He wrote a very nice letter, and actually what happened is that we then elevated Dick to full member. So he is no longer an alternate member, he is now a full member.
We didn't get a vote on that?
The Board of Selectmen have to do that.
I actually
You guys
reached,
don't get to
I actually,
choose who your sandbox mates are.
I actually reached out to all 3 alternates, to Manish, to Carolyn, and to Dick, and said, which of you would like to step up to be full member? Carolyn said you were
I said,
happy
"No,
to
thank
stay. And Manish said that he was happy to defer, and Dick said he would like to step up. So based upon that review of the 3 alternates, I propose to the Board of Selectmen that Dick be proposed to be nominated to.
So I am now full member serving out Mr. Fallon's term,
Yes.
which
is
ends
for how long?
on the 27th, or 2027.
That also mean that
And
you,
my former position as an alternate is now vacant,
Yes.
and that runs till 2028. That's the 3-year term.
And we have had one person, a woman who has not sent me any of her information,
An email, right?
required, yeah.
So, speaking of that, I am assuming when something comes to all of us with that kind of inquiry, or, I mean, there are these fish things that we all know is not ours. I am assuming you will take care of that, and if you don't, you'll let somebody else know to take care of it.
Yes,
Just ignore-
that is a correct
right.
assumption. I am the first line of defense usually for anything that comes in through the FERB email. If I can't deal with it, I would assign it or ask someone else to. take
So that we can put our best foot forward.
very good.
What's our best?
Well, and it's just like, not all of us are responding.
No, you
Any of
shouldn't, you
us.
shouldn't have to, but if you do see something that comes through that you think is important, please send a note around saying, XYZ, I have these comments based upon this. Because I'd like input, so if you.
Yeah, no, if I see something, if the assumption's correct.
All right, so let's defer 3 and go back to Bill Gurley.
Keep hot, buddy,
I
keep
know.
hot.
Perfect timing.
As you know, we had the public informational meeting on the master plan. I've gotten overall general positive feedback. There was a couple people, I'll call the naysayers, that we kind of know who they are already. And then one in particular was disappointed that accusing engineering, and it was even the wrong person, of corruption, and that we deliberately cut off the tape even though the meeting ended, and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So I thought they were well behaved from the last meeting, but
They meaning.
when the person,
Oh,
the
the
person that in the audience that. But I have not followed up with the consultant. We were off on Monday, and I hope to just get in touch with them this week and try to see if I can get. We were talking 2 weeks for the poll questions and stuff, but see if I can get 3 weeks out of it.
When you say
So that-
poll question, so I had sent a letter to you and Christine Brown and Emmeline
That needs to be rejiggered.
that saying that I don't think we can send the poll out as is because it has no context. I mean, I did a lot of work in market research in my real job when I was like employed, and unless we have a research expert on staff, I don't think you can send that survey out with no context. Those Slidos are meant to be, you've seen a presentation, and then you ask a question about what they've just seen. And if they haven't seen anything, they're not going to be able to answer the question with any degree of granularity because they won't know what you're talking about. So like the one, which would you prefer, adaptation, mitigation, or retreat?
They have to,
Most people
yeah.
have no idea what that means, but we'd all just seen a big slide with, here's what adaptation means, here's what mitigation means, here's what.
Well, I think
So-
that it was really meant for the people in the audience,
Right.
and
But I thought we wanted.
someone
to
from the
do
first
townwide.
selectman's office, though, really wanted, they're like, well, this is only 15 or 20 people.
Yeah, Christine wants
out
it to
of-
go
yeah,
townwide,
right.
so what I offered.
I sometimes don't mention names, but
What
yeah.
what I offered is, since I do have a background in market research, I offered to create those questions, but in a broader survey that actually adds
Right.
the context, and then we can put it out on the first selectman newsletter. I didn't hear back yet.
Right. And
So I'm
then-
happy to do that if you'd
And
like.
then the one question that you wanted added originally to the poll, I actually thought it was slanted, with all due respect. So, but one of the things I was hoping that we would get to, and as I said, I did not know, we did not rehearse it. It was 2 hours was the presentation, and really, I thought it was going to be about an hour at most. And so they took up to 2 hours, and by then,
2 hours,
people are
26
burnt.
minutes.
Yeah, that's how long
And a couple seconds.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
got cut off, apparently.
Right.
Well, no, they said thank you and next time, but then I think the person thought that we should be recording the little side conversations after the meeting, but
Right.
to me, the meeting was over, and I think they were incorrect, because not only that, but how do you pick them up if there's 3 or 4 little sidebar ones? We didn't get to do the breakout session, which I was just hoping for, but
how will
we'll still put in the priorities that we had suggested as part of the public comment, and
So that is one of the things we were going to discuss, and we basically, are we going to add all the priorities in?
well, I have to, again, review the true scope of everything that they have in there. I'm gonna say at least 2/3, maybe even like 3/4 of the sites that they have do agree with ours. It's just sometimes worded a little bit different, we say, I'll just use an example, Penfield Pavilion, or they say Penfield Pavilion, but we say,
They said Penfield.
Raleigh to Birch or something like
They said
that.
Penfield Pavilion deployables.
Yeah, we say deployables at Penfield.
That's one of the things we want to look at, but we also
I
want to
know
look at
you
Henry's Road
brought
and, well, so it's, I think we really need to relook at that list and put a list on that we're all aligned to. And one of the things we were going to try and do as a group is align to the
Well, I
list.
did submit the list, and apparently they would need more time for that for the meeting, but
Well,
that doesn't mean.
that's the thing. We
Yeah,
submitted
but-
the list and it,
Right, but
When
you
did
gotta
you want
remember, when we first started, when we first hired them, it was a rush job. We actually wanted this whole thing done within 6 months. And it's already been, 14 months or something?
With
I
the
think-
25
I can tell you
Yeah.
my personal opinion, I would rather have a plan that is a good plan that's done well than try to rush it.
Right.
Because rushing it will only mean garbage in, garbage out. You're
Well,
gonna-
that's why I asked them at the very end of the meeting when they expect the next meeting. And that, I just wanted to see, kind of judge by them, because if they told me the next month or two, I'd be like, no way, so.
I'd like to see an updated timeline. Can we request that?
Yeah, we can request that, yep.
Because I think we need to see what they'd like the updated timeline to be, and then we'd like to comment on that updated timeline.
But I was,
disappointed 'cause I'd
only
asked to see
because
what
the
these
very
things ahead of time.
beginning, and then again, you always have, whether it be Board of Finance, RTM members, or somebody that's saying, oh, what's the status on the master plan? Well, we haven't even had the first meeting, you know what I mean? So that's why I was one of the ones, and Emmeline as well, and they were, in a sense of just trying to push just to get some public feedback, try to
We had
get
two
some
public
information.
meetings.
If we have to, and I have to double check the amount that, because again, it's been maneuvered so much and shell gamed, I gotta find out how much money we have for the master plan, and was it all spent on the PO, or like the PO, and I'll just use an example of, say, 275, but we have 300, or if we have 350 and they're at 275, well, then you know what, we'll have them have an extra meeting. I'll use-
What is their budget to date? What-
I have to check that
Who
all.
keep-
Can
who
we get
keeps,
that?
who keeps that financial record?
Who keeps that financial record is there's a thing called Munis, which is our accounting system. So I'd have to go in there with the account number, find out how much they spent, which they usually do tell us on the next invoice or the last invoice. So I have that information. But the original account, how much is in the account,
But, okay.
that I have to check.
You-
And that was way before I got
You,
involved.
as the current private
yep.
manager,
Right.
you're the one that should have that financial information.
And I'll get that,
What the budget
yep.
was, what was spent,
Absolutely right.
because at where they are, if
If they've
I
spent
would be
75%
interested,
of the budget.
I would be interested in seeing those numbers and go from there.
Well, remember at the meeting, I did say they're somewhere between 40 and say 50%, and that's where they are on their PO. And see, that I know right off the bat how much
Financial?
it's.
PO
yeah,
meaning
the
what?
Purchase order.
Purchase order.
And that's what, but a lot, not always, but sometimes, I should say, not a lot, but sometimes we'll have, say, as I said, 300,000, but the purchase order is 275 to give us a little contingency.
Right.
And so that's what I have to check, is how much was, because I know what it was originally, but I don't know if,
400 originally.
so that's what I mean, is that's what I have to
We actually
double
got
check.
that. Well, I saw something on the capital plan that was only 350, which.
That's what I'm getting at, so.
I want
in all
to be
fairness,
respectful of your time. You're going to the RTM meeting tonight?
Yes, I
What
am.
time- I mean, what time do you have to?
I have to, I have about 11 minutes is what I figured I have here.
Okay, So-
But that information I can get readily available, because, I do know the account number and I know the PO number and I have their latest invoice. So
Can you send
certainly
that
I
to
can,
the Burbs then?
yeah, I could
Be
do
aware
it.
of
yeah.
what has been spent.
As I said, if I recall, they're somewhere probably between 40 and 50%.
Then what we're going to do, because you have to leave, we're going to go through both their coastal as well as their riverine pluvial list of items and give you a series of comments on them.
Right, and if I have to leave, by all means.
were these slides in their slide, I mean, would you
I
glean
recreated this. I basically pulled
Okay.
it from, I cut and paste sections so that we could see it on the map because it's too hard to pull it off of the reader.
Yeah, and they even said that it's too big and.
And then I went in and looked at the race chart where they'd put high, medium, and low, and I put the red as their high, what they marked as high. Although there was some interesting questions which I didn't understand because high did not necessarily correlate to the amount of water that would be standing water during a 25-year storm or whatever. They had some that would only have 2 feet of water that they put as high priority. and
Well,
others
that
had
might
6
be
feet that
number
you
of
didn't put
people
any.
affected. It could be, I
That's what
mean,
I'd like to
again,
understand there.
to somebody's house and drywall, you know, well, 6 inches or 4 feet doesn't matter. Their walls are ruined.
But
you
they
know
had
what I
some
mean?
medium ones that were 6 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to take their guidance. I'd like them to explain it to us because I don't understand some of
Well,
them.
some of the highest areas were in the salt marshes, and who cares?
Yeah, and they had all the pump stations on there, all of which are already being replaced by wastewater treatment plant. So why would we be even putting them on?
Say that again?
The wastewater treatment plant budget is already budgeted to replace all of the pump stations. So why would we be?
Well, it is and it isn't. It's-
If we're doing a comprehensive snapshot of what needs attention,
Yes, okay.
regardless of the
It
funding.
should be listed on the.
I'm happy to list them all. I just thought this was which ones, this was for us to decide how many concepts they're gonna do. That's the way I was looking at this. I agree with you. Everything should be listed. All the tide gates should be listed, everything.
And we have to make that clear. I have to make that clear with
And
them.
were
that
you able to-
You want to list everything.
But only
But, and then
prioritize
prioritize,
what
right.
concepts we're gonna do. Were you able to get clarity from them on how many concepts they believe they were supposed to be doing?
No, I didn't have time on that.
Time to do that.
Our next meeting, we'll have that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Bill? Because it sounds like you've now got 5 minutes.
8:20, 8 minutes, 20 seconds.
What's the groundbreaking day for Fairchild Wheeler Detention Area?
We have sent them the
Snow's only this deep now.
Well, we're really hoping they can start in, March. It all depends on what the next couple of,
But they're all ready to go. They're just looking for what the weather window's going to be.
and they have to formally sign the contract. They have to formally sign the
so
contract. 'Cause
All
they're-
the i's are not yet dotted.
Not officially, but we've had discussions with them. They know what we need from them. We would like a detailed schedule. They gave us a preliminary schedule, but like a detailed schedule. There, though, they say, well, we need a contract to do that. So over the weekend.
Who is our project manager on that?
Mega Jane,
Maybe who, sorry?
Mega Jane, senior civil engineer.
Who's the contractor on that?
The contractor, I just got to make sure because I get them mixed up. It's Guerrera. They're the ones who did the railroad intersections, for those who've been here long enough, for the new Metro Center at the time. And
Do we have contracts out or bids in for replacing some culverts, like up around Vernon Hill Road, I think?
well, that's done. Vernon Hill Road culvert's been replaced.
It's been replaced, okay.
Right. The only thing left on that, which was not FEMA eligible or anything like that, was a guide rail that we got to put in.
Do we have any update on the Penfield notice of violation?
I'm not involved in that, so I can't discuss. You'd have to probably talk to Eli or maybe Frank or
Frank.
Christine knows.
I did ask Christine and Frank. I have not heard back.
Yeah, I couldn't
Okay,
say.
next
'cause I don't
topic.
know. Yep, that's
Next
okay.
up.
yeah.
Next up.
Are you at all working on, I guess that's all through conservation, the McLeavy and Riverside?
Yeah, that's what I'm going for today, the Riverside.
They're not doing them both?
Well, they're doing both, but one is being bonded this year, and one is being bonded probably next year.
Well, but the bond that was approved at the
Board of Finance.
Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, okay,
meeting,
yes.
that included $500,000 for McLeavy.
And
It
this
included
is,
$266,000 additional for Riverside Creek.
Right.
But it also included $500,000 for McLeavy. Now, my assumption was that is to get the engineering funded and
Be
going.
permit ready, probably, right?
Yeah.
I'd have to look at that closely. I don't want to give you an answer right away on that. What I know is they were putting both of the tie gates into, I guess we're going for fiscal year 27. They were putting it into 28, all right? But because of the condition of Riverside tie gates, and there's a couple sinkholes that occurred, I said, I'm not letting us wait that long. It still might take 6, 8, 12 months, but from now, you know what I mean? They've already put the permits in, so that process has been done. So if they get the permits and we have the funding, then we can put it out to bid right away.
So question on that, they were talking about bringing the berm elevation up to elevation 9. And I think Riverside was close to elevation 9, but there was a short area that they noticed that was closer to the Riverside open space. Are we going to bring that whole berm up to elevation 9? And should we-
That's an open topic. We're going to get to
Well, I
that.
actually think.
We're going to get to that.
The real
in our
question
meeting.
is, if we've already approved as a town elevation 12 for all future flood control structures, why are we only doing elevation 9? We should be doing elevation 12, which has been the town-approved budget that was approved through the Board of Selectmen.
Well, they're mirroring it with Riverside, and right now to go to 12 there were reasons why. It's going to be really hard for
Not
that.
good reasons.
They didn't bring any in.
Whatever
I mean,
they are, not good reasons.
well, it would involve marsh encroachment, because obviously you'd have to make the berm wider.
And for the Riverside one, don't forget those permits were 2019. They were approved and they were just renewed.
Wait. We're talking about Riverside Creek.
Right.
We
Well,
don't have
the two rivers-
we don't have permits for that yet, do we?
No, the rivers,
Okay.
the Turney Creek, the one
Right.
with the four that's
Right.
almost just
We
about
just did.
done. The road.
Right.
Yeah, that one. That is we call that Turney
Turney
Creek.
Creek's head wall is at 13 feet.
I don't
Sure.
think that's correct.
I looked at the construction drawings.
I highly doubt that, to be honest with you.
I think that's
I will
high
check.
too, but I'd love it if it were.
And you know what, you gotta be careful, when any of these, that 13 feet might be, if it's from a permit, it's mean low water.
No, no.
It's not NAV,
NAB.
It's not,
NAV 88.
that's what I mean.
All right, well, let's,
Yeah.
Big wall.
Yeah, really.
It's a big, no.
no, but how high is it? Is
All
it-
I'm just saying, by my eye, it's it's not 8. It's tall.
I'm
I'm overlooking
not
it.
close enough to it to know.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger question, Bill, is something we should answer as part of the master plan. But when we redo all these flood control structures, what is the elevation that our town wants to plan to? And I think we need to have, if it's not going to be 12 that was approved, we need to then reapprove a new elevation. But we can't just say, oh, we think this one will be 9 and this one will be this and this will be this. I mean, we should have a plan, an approved elevation.
Well, the question there too is,
Now, I looked at the construction set today. That's from the conceptual study, but I looked at the construction set today that I have in my file, and it's the same. It's 13 feet. The construction set does not call out this provision for 2 additional feet for sea level rise, which I don't like that. Anyway, either, but all right, that's still a discussion topic.
Dr. Bradley.
I'll try to get that.
I had a conversation, just to give you a preview, I had a conversation with Tim Bishop the other day about these things, and this board is going to write Tim Bishop a letter to ask for these things to be done during the design phase. Because as you know, we did not have a seat during any of the study meetings.
Well, the other thing we're going to be asking, we're meeting with Christine Vitale tomorrow, and Frank, and we will be reviewing what is the role of the Flood and Erosion Control Board in this town, because it doesn't appear to be consistent with state statutes. And one of the things we're going to be requesting, or at least we're going to be discussing as a board right now, but I put down as a request, is that we should be in the approval cycle for all flood control structures in the sign-off approval structure, so that we would, as a Flood and Erosion Control Board, sign off on every flood control structure at the preliminary stage and at the bid stage.
One of the things that we, the people who review our permits, we're having people that want to build swimming pools on the waterward side of a berm, and then sometimes even on the backside, you know what I mean? And so we might be asking this board, again, just conceptually, we're just trying to get it out, of if they wanted to have input on some of these proposed structures that are going in, as, like you said, part of the
I read the
original.
I read the Old Dam woman,
Right.
the woman in Old Dam, who basically said that it's a taking, in a sense that her lot is not, it's not a non-conforming, it's a very large lot, and it could easily accept, and it's well beyond, on the other side of the berm. She wasn't asking it on the waterward side of the berm at all, I don't think. Anyway, conceptually, I don't believe we should have swimming pools necessarily in the flood zone, but I also think we shouldn't have big apartment buildings and all the extra
On Reef Road.
on Reef Road, because, if DEEP recommends against something and we went ahead and approved it, that seems kind of a little silly.
Well, again, if they raise to the 100-year flood. I
That
mean,
was still, no, DEEP still recommended against it even with that.
With that?
Yeah, but I've seen those recommendations and they're not supportable,
DEEP's,
from my opinion.
DEEP's
From Deep,
recommendation?
we've gotten reviews like that in Milford. And I don't see anything where it's supported by statute, that it can be denied.
His was a
And-
safety reason, because of the increased
But,
traffic.
but the recommendation does not appear to be supported by statute. And I'm not an attorney, but it gives me the creeps that if the municipality were to deny based on a recommendation by DEEP that's not supported by statute, that the municipality could set itself up for an inverse condemnation because you're saying we can't do it because of an opinion of a DEEP staffer.
That's a good point.
I'm not a lawyer, but I spent way too much of my life hanging around lawyers, I'm sure Bill has. And
They're not great people.
and I've also
No.
I've
you say
also
that?
spent enough time around enough developers that are looking for any way they can to shake the money tree. And if you're gonna go and take an action based on a recommendation of a deep staffer, you better well have it well backed up, or you're gonna be potentially looking at an inverse condemnation.
To me, it at least should be a red flag that we should look at then.
Well, and I also, I'm taking this out of context, but, and I'm not sure what's in our current POCD, but at least in the former POCD, one of the things was we want to limit the population in the coastal zones.
And limit development in the coastal zones. And that was a called out POCD recommendation. But it's a recommendation.
On the pool thing, and Keith, the poor guy, his hand is gonna run out of blood in his hand, he has had it up for so long. But on the pool thing, was this something that came up to the TPC yesterday for a vote?
It's on different topics.
No, the P and Z is discussing the proposed changes to the zoning regulations tonight.
And
Oh, is that tonight?
6:30, they already started, they're already going.
So when we go home.
And one of those
when we go home,
proposed
we can watch
changes
it.
is to eliminate the ability to build pools.
In the VE
VE and
and
VE.
coastal
And
and
coastal.
coastal AE zones.
Yeah, anything with the limo, I think, yeah.
What else do we have for Bill? Bill, you're 2 minutes
You need
in.
to go, right?
Yeah, it's,
2 minutes over.
I had a little bit of time, but not much more.
I just want to go back to the,
Okay, I just wanted to mention with Dick, I will get back to you on that.
No, like I said,
The elevation, because I was
We're gonna
told
write Tim
they were
Bishop a
matching
letter
the
and bring these things onto the, back onto.
I was
the-
told that they were matching because it's this, they were matching the elevations of that, so.
Whatever.
So Keith, do you have a quick question? for
yeah,
Bill?
real quick, just to go back to 3 topics ago about the, one of the comments that was, that they had at the meeting was the floods from the Rooster River were in low-lying areas. And that was because you'd have rain that would flood the low-lying areas. And that's really not the case. It's a lot of it has to do with the storm drainage. And they didn't seem to understand, at least it didn't seem to me, that they had, that was something that was part of their considerations.
Well, it's really, it's twofold. When the river overflows its banks, that's obviously hydraulic, and and then you have, and forgive me, I sometimes get them mixed up with the pluvial.
Yeah,
The one is related to the stormwater, and then, so Rooster River, it's really both.
It's both, correct.
And then on some of them, it's not inadequate storm drainage. It's the same thing that we have here. When the water of the Long Island Sound or Rooster River is higher than the inverts or the pipes that we have going out, you really have to have a high pressure flow in order for the water to go through these pipes. Otherwise, you have to wait until there's more elevation behind to have it go,
All I'm saying is that they were putting a lot of emphasis on the blue spots as low-lying areas as being the answer, the reason for everything.
Oh, I don't know about being an answer. Those were just saying that those were areas of potential investigation, that's all. They weren't saying that those were the answers, no.
Like this, in my opinion, there's a lot of vernal pools on that blue spot map.
Oh, yeah, there's wetlands that, as we've learned, trying to flood a wetland area, they want bypass. They want upland and the problem is the flooding is low-lying area. So if you go upland, you're higher. So how do you get the water from there to there? You have to excavate or regrade a significant amount. Or get an area where it's like on a high slope where you're able to intercept it and then have enough pitch to bring it back to the river. As I said, 40 to 50% done. They'll have their, as I said, they've been working a lot on that interactive map. And when we give them the priorities, then they're going to have to start looking at some concepts and possible solutions. But they haven't even begun to look at the solutions yet, so. All right, I do have to go.
You have to go.
Bill,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks.
you for.
All
Bring
right.
my capital
Appreciate it.
I have that
budget,
in my,
please.
I'm bringing
Get
it.
your own.
Thanks.
Ink is expensive.
Especially colored.
Colored ink.
My God, it's ridiculous.
EOCD.
Plan of
Conservation
and
Development.
We just
We
updated
just passed
ours.
a new one.
In the last 9 months.
Yeah.
We just passed it in
So that's-
October.
That's guidance, not regulatory, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Although what's in there
That-
gets now taken to regulatory, which is what planning and zoning is doing tonight, for example. They are going to be proposing some of the things that were in that be now made regulatory. Which we should listen to when we get back, especially the areas that
Me too.
still.
It was all over social media this morning. Yeah, there was somebody, one of the dads, on the Dads of Fairfield, Facebook brought it up, and people could not believe that the town was proposing that they were gonna take, that, that right away. So it was,
What, swimming pool?
Well, they are cleaning up in the beach community, like, crazy. Unbelievable. And the displacement of water has got to be huge, considering the number of pools that are going in.
The what?
The number of pools that are
No,
going
the
in.
displacement of water?
Yes, when you build a swimming pool and it goes out, I mean, that happened to me in Pelham Manor. People, build and they go down, and so then they put in the cement pool, and so the water is going every other way because they've dug down. It's not, that's.
well, the rerouting.
It's rerouting.
Yeah.
It's taking the water from which would.
That happened to me at my
It's
house.
going this
Somebody
way.
put a 1,000-gallon
Every
propane
which way.
tank on my property line, right over my property line. And that was the week before we had that huge rainstorm where the BMWs were floating down North Avenue in Bridgeport, and my basement filled with 3 feet of water. Never had a drop in it in 20 years before.
You think it's
It
just-
took
It changes
away
the water
that
table.
percolation
Because
volume.
it comes off
from
of
the
North
soil.
Benson down to my backyard over off of Greenbrier and Reed there. And there was it used to go down and over into Buckus Pond underground, over through the wetlands and into Buckus Pond. And when it wasn't the tank, it was the act of digging it. They didn't put cement, but the act of digging it forces that water around, and it happens to be right off the
But
back
it just
corner of my
changes the
home.
water table for an entire block because you have now this big, anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not
90
saying how I
minutes,
would vote.
90
I
minutes,
just
3.5
don't-
feet of water was downstairs. We lost everything.
All right, let us move back to the agenda. I'd like to go back to discussion and nomination of secretary. Does anyone want to put their hand
Oh,
up?
by the
to
way,
be
did we
secretary?
talk about what the legal part of this, did we do that?
Legal part of what?
That an alternate cannot serve as secretary? We actually have the attorney in
Yes.
writing.
We did get
I
that.
wrote him, and no way, Jose.
Phil?
No, because you're not a sitting board member. And he wrote back, no, an alternate cannot be secretary. So.
So do we have a nomination? If anyone would like to put their hand up?
Well, he nominated me my first thing, so I'm gonna nominate him this time.
I was gonna say, if you took over for the guy who was before, I mean,
You're already in line.
Would anyone else, so Dick is one nomination. Do we have any other nominations? Would anyone else like to step up to be secretary? Hearing none, do we have a second for Dick?
second.
Any comments?
Dick is meticulous with his details.
All in
Yes.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you very much for this robust
You are now.
opportunity to once again serve as Secretary of the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board.
All right, you can do it.
You can say that name.
You can say that.
Say that.
Secretary, I don't know
I
the
can't even
name.
say the name. I say Ferb.
I do
Yeah.
too.
My kids know what it is. My wife knows what it is. Yeah.
All right, so,
Prue and I have demonstrated that we can work well together, and what one doesn't remember, the other one will help them remember. So.
Excellent.
Moving forward.
so let's move on to master plan. We did a little of that discussion with Bill here. Did everyone get a chance to look at either the documents that were sent around by Dick or the ones I sent around that basically outlined listed all of the things that were on.
My, my basic reaction to this is,
Wow.
this is the coastal, that's too much information in one place to digest. And this is the upland, and that's really too much information in one place to digest. Am I upside down?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's like some, this board should throw all their opinions on the table, but then some subset of this board needs to go and sit with Emmeline and Bill and have another meeting just with the town people to see how we're going to go back to
Consultant.
Weston and Sampson. And then go back to Weston and Sampson, because this is
Well, I
just,
think, let me put it in
so
context.
huge.
I think there's two pieces to this. The laundry list, we do need to call out every single structure that should be part of our
Right.
plan. The short list is which 10 of these are we going to have Race work on to develop concepts? And there's two pieces. So the question is, do we have everything on the laundry list that should be there? And if not, let's put other things on. And then how are we then going to get to that 9 to 10, 8 to 10, however many it is? We have, it appears to be unclear. Race appears to think they're only doing 8. My read of the contract is they should be doing 10. The way we actually wrote the RFP, we would have had 15 total concepts, but some of those would have been Riverine. So now Riverine, they're doing 0 concepts.
that's not good.
That's the way they wrote the RFP, that's the way they wrote the contract. And I called it out at the time to our purchasing and our project manager at the time and said, there seems to be some lack of clarity in the way this contract is written. Can we clarify it before we accept it? And they did not choose to do that. So there are
Well,
no.
maybe there's an opportunity to rejigger that a little bit.
Yeah, so right now, what they are proposing to do per the terms of their contract is, again, it's unclear whether it's 8 or 10, but the coastal ones will actually have a 10% level concepts done for whichever 8 to 10 areas we give them, and a level 5 cost. And level 5 cost is basically a rough ballpark. It's a ballpark of what the costs are. It is not a, permit-ready park, but it's a ballpark. And that's what we will be getting from the coastal, whichever we pick, whichever 8 to 10 we pick.
So this may be a very naive question, but in looking at these that run through 1 to 20, there's a sentence like, for instance, Visual Senior Center or Town Hall Rochester. Am I missing what they are recommending for Town Hall / Roger Sherman and how much that would be? Did I just miss sort of
No,
that?
so let's say we pick.
It's really
just
just
the area.
identifying the areas.
Well, they actually put some of these they wrote,
Does anybody
actually
want
their
a bigger-
proposed,
Slightly bigger map?
some of these they actually wrote their proposed
I do.
approach. Like for Penfield, they wrote Penfield deployables, as if that's all they're looking at.
Right.
And beach- others, they wrote beach nourishment, raising.
Right,
what we
raise beach
originally-
road, which I never had heard we'd ever talked about.
What we originally said to them was, let's pick our areas, and then they're supposed to come up with a range of concepts and give us their best 2 of what they should be. But they've already chosen some stuff, which I don't think they should choose yet.
Right.
Because they're supposed to come up with 2 different concepts for each of these areas.
Right.
And none of these are gonna be river.
None of these are going to be Riverine. What the Riverine part of the contract says is they're going to prepare for us a menu and library of nature-based solutions and help us prioritize which of these areas we should take the next step to do a study to look at which nature-based solutions would work in these areas and how. Which, to me, we could have done that ourselves. I mean, I think it's useless. So we're not getting a lot of value out of that.
Why are we limiting to nature-based? We're not doing any gray-green concept?
This is for the upland. So they're gonna be looking at bioswales, rain gardens, permeable.
Well, like
pavement,
Fairchild Wheeler and
Texas.
Tungus
Hill.
Tungus Hill, yeah, they're
They're nature-based,
They're
they're berms. They're earth and berms though, right? They're not,
well, they're weirs. They're flow control weirs. They're concrete flow control weirs.
are they gonna be concrete? I thought they were gonna be,
No, there's an opening. It's big at the top, goes down again
oh,
to control the flow.
okay, so maybe,
The berm would be earthen, but that's just where the water
okay, so
outlet is.
Yeah, that's the business end of this
will be concrete.
detention, to release the rain bomb water more slowly downstream.
Yeah.
That's-
So
that's
we
the
could
idea.
ask them to do gray green and nature-based. But the reality is that what they're not proposing is to say, at this location, you should do a bioswale here and permeable pavement here. And they're saying, these are the types of things that would be appropriate.
Look at.
This is the menu that would be appropriate for this site. This is the menu that would be appropriate for that site. So they're just going to give us a menu, and there's going to have to be future work done. So what I think the value we will get based upon what their contract says is a prioritization of which of these areas would hold the most water and would benefit the town the most by holding back water.
I don't know if it's included in the contract or not, but we really should have them do a benefit cost analysis
It was not included in the contract.
because, saving, storing 10,000 cubic feet of water over here
Because they're not,
costs twice as much as sending 5,000 cubic feet over there, but the 10,000 doesn't help anybody for anything, and the 5,000 helps.
helps 20 houses, yeah.
An example of
Yeah.
how they showed the inundation maps, it's, and I've got my own concerns about the 20-inch rise in sea level in 25 years.
That's the upper limit. That's the,
But that's,
Up to.
some of the stuff they said is not supportable by the document. To me, it's a good planning,
it's planning guidance.
it's planning framework, but they were stipulating it almost as if it is gonna happen. Just example, we had, NAVD 29, 1929, and NGVD 88, 1988. The difference in mean sea level was, in this area, was 13 inches, 1.1 feet. Okay, so in a period of 60 years, we had, and there's also other factors, the geoid metrics, everything else, but let's leave that out. You got 13 inches in 60 years, and they're predicting we're going to get 20 inches in 25 years going forward. And if you go and look at some of the tracking of mean high water that's in here, just in Bridgeport,
This is Don Lamberti.
from 68 to 2016, there's a 4-inch difference, a 4-inch increase in mean high water over a period of 50 years. So
I don't disagree with you. I think
Yeah.
it's probably
The-
highly unlikely
you know,
that
I'm
20 is the real
from-
number, but
from a planning standpoint and a target,
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
20 is,
It's a good
you're always
target.
better to be
yeah.
conservative with that. But it's also you've also got to understand that even though this shows one that's going to show 6 or 8 feet of increased sea level in 25 years, you can almost stand there and watch the sea level rising in real time with a scenario like that. So
Are you okay with it as a planning threshold though?
I'm okay with it as a planning
Right.
tool. I'm not wild about the way that they presented it. They said, yeah, it's a planning tool, and yeah, it's by circa, but the way they presented it was almost as if it were a guarantee that we're gonna get 20 inches increase in the next 25 years, and I don't see that that's supportable.
So I agree with
The
you.
reason
But I think the
my
question.
my concerns for that aren't for, yeah, that's a nice target and that would be good to go for. It's more a function of, we've got to take that into account when we do a benefit cost analysis. Just stepping back to when they're showing the difference in flood inundation, we get down here, okay, I got a house that right now is, you're looking at 4 feet of inundation and with 20 inches of, we're gonna have 6 feet. Does it matter? Does it really matter?
No,
Is it gonna?
the first 2 feet.
Yeah.
Once
yeah,
it's
you know, it doesn't really matter. Where it's gonna matter is at the fringes where maybe somebody right now has no floods at all, and in 25 years, they're gonna have a foot or two of water, which is gonna be a major difference. So, you know, that's where we should be, I think we should be focusing on limiting the intensity and frequency, but there's not much we can do about that, but whatever other protective measures we can make. You know, it's, and just along those lines, the color scheme that they used for the computer, it's like, I'm not colorblind. I assure you, I'm not colorblind. But when you have all this shading blending into everything else, it's very hard to figure out just where you're going to be. You've got these colors that are all over, that are minor differences in hues, and then you got the legend over here. It's very difficult to follow.
You're talking about this map?
No, when they do the inundation
When they
mapping
did
on
the inundation
on
map,
the
they had like 12
The
12 or
blue spot?
15 different
No.
colors.
You know how, you know, the 10
Oh,
year.
yeah, okay, yeah,
sea level
yeah.
rise,
Yeah.
25 year, 100 year, and so they, and it's like, you know, this is 6 feet deep, this is 5 feet deep.
I loved that slide bar where you
you
could
could
pick,
show
where you
more.
could pick two scenarios and you could slide it so you could see what the difference is between it. That was a very good tool. I was very impressed with
And
that.
that flood viewer, you have to really zoom in to
Yeah.
start seeing
Yeah.
things, because a lot of the legends,
Yeah.
you don't even know they're there until you're zoomed way in.
I mean, the good thing about it is, the way I hope people will use it, residents will use it, is they'll put their property in.
Yeah,
So they can see
right.
their
right.
property
Right.
at various storm levels and see what the potential for
Does
flooding.
anyone, I didn't really quite understand the relationship between that flood viewer and our existing GIS
Well,
mapping
it's all
for our
GIS
town.
based, so it's part,
Because
it's layers on top of our
Does
GIS.
MetroCog keep the layers that they're putting on?
No,
I don't know that, I mean, they could have access to them, I'm sure, but those layers are added onto our existing GIS.
So that flood viewer, who going into the future, who's gonna have custody of that computer program that generates the flood
It
viewer?
will sit on the town website. Who actually can make modifications to it, I don't know.
You mean over the years after we?
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
it?
5 years from now, when I wanna go back and look at the flood viewer, and I
see how
I
good
say,
the
gee.
predictions were.
gee,
Yeah, those
you
predictions
have,
are-
you have Riverfield School and Jennings School mixed up here. Change them so that it's correct. Who's going to do that 5 years from now?
I think we should actually do it now.
Well, yeah, but Yeah.
Well, Kill Academy looks kind of, it's in the same place as Sunrise.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Sunrise
there's a
Elderly.
there's a lot
There's a lot of
little,
that,
little
yeah.
things like that. Errata.
So I think
Errata on the
we're
flood
all
viewer.
aligned that the 20 years is a good planning threshold. It's
20 inches.
20 inches by 2050 is a good planning threshold. It's unlikely, it's probably not a realistic actual, but it does give guidance.
Along those lines, if we accept it just having been and being a representative of municipality, we're in a position that for the protection of the town, unless we can clearly demonstrate the scientific certainty that this is not correct, we're pretty much in a position where we're stuck with this because this is an accepted.
It's a state
it's
of.
an
That's the
accepted
state, it's on the,
And
in the
if we-
state
if we choose-
statutes.
If we choose not to, I'm not sure if it's statutes, but
It is.
it's
It is. It's in
accepted.
the state statute.
Statutes. I know it's an accepted,
I'm pretty sure it's,
it's accepted by the
But
state.
anyway, it's
That's why-
it's an accepted standard, so for us to deviate from it, we do that at our own peril.
Yes.
But along those lines, if we accept that, which is close enough to 2 feet for my purposes, I would strongly encourage zoning to adopt a minimum of 2 feet from the design flood elevation, so that a house that's built now to the design flood elevation will be compliant with the
Whatever.
BFE 25 years from now.
That's a good
Whereas if we keep the 1 foot for the DFE, you're gonna be a foot underwater with your first floor for the BFE 25 years from now,
Yeah.
if that's how it's projected.
Well, that's for the 100-year storm though, right?
Right.
It's a 100-year storm, so.
Right. But, if the 100-year storm is gonna be 20 inches higher in 2050 than it is today,
Yeah,
why are you letting somebody build a house
it's not.
today?
Not 20 inches
in-
higher.
In 15 years, their first floor is gonna be below the BFE if it follows this track.
And I think that's the point of using that sort of standard, which is, and I think we need to think about that for everything we're thinking about. And that's why we talked about, for some of these newer flood control things that we might want to put in place, we had as a town a line to a 12-foot elevation, which will not necessarily keep the water out at a 100-year storm, by the way. It, I think would keep it at a 10 to, it would keep it out at a Superstorm Sandy level storm.
According to FEMA, any critical infrastructure, and that's,
Has to be a 500-year
it
storm.
has to be 500-year storm. Then you get into the semantics, does a flood protection berm constitute
That's critical.
critical infrastructure? In and of itself, no, but what does it protect? It may.
Yeah. So I think what we had talked about when we had originally used the 12-foot is that realistically, we don't want as a town to put walls that are 12 feet high, or, 14 feet high, 16 feet high, or elevation 16 even, in our town, because it just will look awful. And the reality of a 500-year storm or even a 100-year storm happening with that level of frequency, we need to let the water come in and out. But what we could do is protect against a Sandy level storm or a nor'easter. And there are a lot,
That
there'll
was
be a
one
lot
of
of
the
those.
big problems with Sandy was the water got in and we couldn't get it out.
February 2024, after we had a meeting with Race, who did a coastline study, the town decided that we would have 12 feet as our flood protection.
The town decided it as in Bill Gerber and Flood and Erosion Control Board and Engineering decided that.
Right.
It wasn't ever approved.
Right, it never went to the RTM.
Or
Never
RTM.
went to the RTM.
It's
But,
not documented anywhere,
yes, it is.
just in like the minutes of FERB.
In the minutes, in Race's final report on the study, it's documented.
That the town had.
And in that, it says that 12-foot elevation will protect against, without sea level rise, that 12-foot will protect against the 97-year storm. Including the 20 inches of sea level rise, it will protect against the 27-year storm. And again, that's relatively on the scale of 1% and so forth. So it's a help. And we did that knowingly, because that will keep us way away from the $500 million plan that the Army Corps came up with, but still give us some protection against many nor'easters into the future.
And Sandy levels.
Yeah,
But it's not going to protect against a Cat 2 hurricane.
no, and
And so we just need to understand that.
we
in our
kind of
residents.
decided
We
we're
do that.
not going to do that.
Right.
To the 20 inches, and it may not be statute, I don't know where legally it stands. But one of the things when we were doing Perry's Green, we wanted to raise the bulkhead 20 inches to accommodate for the future. And Deep said, no, you can't do that. It's like, come on, guys, aren't we all trying to march to the same drummer here?
Well, that's one of the things I want to talk to Deep about when we get into bulkhead heights. Is
Just an example, way before anybody ever adopted a DFE, when I was in the private sector, I always told my clients, build it a foot or two above the BFE because it costs you almost nothing.
That's right.
at the time
to
you
do
build
it
this, yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and you're buying yourself that much more
The
protection.
cost of concrete, because
Yeah.
the forms
Yeah.
are that high anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I'm not opposed to using that 20 inch as a target I'm just a little taken aback at the tenor.
So the language,
They were presenting it as if it's go to the bank, bet the house on it, it's gonna happen. And then they're saying that they hindsighted it, I think, is what the term they used, through this, and went and compared it to, it's like, no, if you look through here.
if you hindsight it, you wouldn't use that.
No, it's, granted, there are other variables they're taking into account here. They're taking into account
Well, NOAA
carbon
sh-
dioxide.
NOAA shows 13 inches, right? Isn't that the NOAA
There's,
elevation?
I mean, there's all kinds of numbers floating around.
Yeah.
There are two, I mean, there are other statistical, and that's an,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's state of Connecticut. So this was Connecticut specifically, which might mean that the land's going down. So there's other things, there's other factors going on. I don't know.
yeah. So I mean, I just had to get it out there. So, again,
So your
we have, if
comment is when
if
we-
we don't hold to that 20-inch
when we write the
target,
plan, we should ask
if
them
we
to
don't
use
hold to that
language.
20-inch, yeah, if
that
we
is
don't
not-
hold to that 20-inch, unless we can back it up rock solid, I think we're putting the town potentially at risk. And there is no way on earth that the town has the resources to support the kind of scientific research that you would need to counter this. So the correct thing to do is accept that 20-inch, but with the knowledge and understanding that that is a prognostication.
It's a planning threshold.
It's a good planning tool, but just have that understanding.
I agree with that, and I think what I'm hearing you say and what I think makes sense is that when we actually write the plan, the language we use should be, the planning threshold is this.
Yeah.
It might not
Yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
but we're going to, as a town, take an abundance of caution and choose that
I'd
as.
rather have somebody be a foot high and dry than 2 inches wet,
Yeah.
is what it comes down to.
So there's another thing that I've asked James, he didn't come today, but I've asked James, he's not on there.
No.
I want to see if he, by any chance, joined by Zoom.
Nobody's on.
So there's a group called, oh God, what's it called? It's called First
First Street.
which is, so you guys might be aware that insurance companies are now looking at other tools to determine how to set their rates based upon level of flooding that they predict. And they are using much more aggressive, even more aggressive planning thresholds than that. And I've asked, just because if our insurance rates are going to be set by these other planning thresholds, I'd like us to look at, here's what insurance companies might be looking at, here's what FEMA says, and there's a difference between those two. But people are going to have their rates based upon what the insurance companies are going to be using these other models. So I've asked to see what the cost would be to get a First Street analysis of the flood projections that they do, and they're compound flood projections. Ours are not compound flood projections. So for example, the coastal flooding they did doesn't incorporate pluvial flooding on top of it.
But there's a seminar to explain compound
I
flooding.
know.
I'm going.
I can't go, I'm going to be
You're in
away.
Colorado, right?
But that's what First Street does. They look at compound flooding.
Yeah.
And so I think we owe it to ourselves to see what our residents,
Bill, but-
insurance companies will be using as criteria.
Bill has his interest piqued in that also, so maybe he'll go. Now, use that as a segue, I went to this webinar online, which was hosted by a FEMA lady. And FEMA has redone the flood insurance study, the FIS. The FIS is the 6 volumes of Fairfield County stuff. And this has diagrams, elevation diagrams of every little creek and brook that you might ever want to look at. And this has a description of stuff, like a description of London's brook is in there, and a description of London's brook diversion. Did you know that your London brook had a diversion? It's right in here, okay? And one, I want to pass this on to Jim to research. I heard this lady say that now that, and if you go to the firm maps today, you will have much more information than the firm maps had 2 years ago, if you went to them. Like they do more cross sections in a floodplain to show what the elevations are in that floodplain. And
Is this part of FEMA 2.0? Is this?
I'm a little unclear.
Because they're looking at other risk factors.
But they have, for each section that they take going through a floodplain, they'll have the BFE to the nearest tenth of a foot, not to the nearest foot. And what I heard her say was that if your new BFE is 10.6 feet, and you've built your house to 10 feet, first floor elevation 10 feet, you are no longer in compliance. You
I
have,
don't think that's.
well, that's what I heard, that legally, that's the case, but they are not going to enforce it for a while because the world has to catch up with where their measurements are, something like that.
Unless they've changed
So-
it very recently, the BFE that was in effect at the time the certificate of occupancy was granted is the definitive BFE.
That
grandfathered in.
certainly should be true, that it's grandfathered.
And it's
Yeah.
grandfathered in.
Yeah, if you were compliant at the time that you got that, you
Right.
should stay compliant. But for new
Oh, yeah,
construction.
new construction, it's,
The higher-
So it was interesting to me that our requirement for 1 foot of freeboard is going to take care of that.
Yeah.
But, and what I don't understand is some places in our regulations today, it says plus 1.1 foot minimum. Now, I don't understand why it says
It's in our
plus 1
regulations?
foot, yeah. I don't understand why it says 1 foot in some spots, but 1.1 foot in other spots. It's all, I have to get my brain wrapped around all these little details that initially seem to be in conflict,
but
probably or not.
the FIS, it shows the flood profile for
Everything.
every noticeable stream, and it's got profiles for I think it's got the 10, the 50, 100, 500-year storm, might have another one, running the whole length of the whole length of the stream, and it's got cross sections throughout, and it'll give you the width of the cross section, the width of the floodway. They're very detailed. Actually, from an academic standpoint, the FIS actually is what applies, not the firm. In practice, the firm is what does it. The only place you actually go to
That's kind of what she was saying.
the only
that it
time you
might-
go to the
10.6
FIS
feet, but we use
is
10 feet.
where you see it more in the Midwest, where you have streams of very, very shallow slope, where you might be halfway in between, you might be a mile between CFE elevations, and you might be halfway in between, so you're gonna go to that. That's technically the correct way to do it when you take the course with FEMA. They teach you that's the correct way to do it, but, realistically, the firm is where everybody starts.
So I want to put us back to what the action is. I think, Dick, you had mentioned that it might make sense to have a small group meet and align on what is our total list of things we want in the plan, and then what is the priorities list of the top 10, let's say, for both Riverine and for coastal. Is there anyone who would like to be on a small sub-team to do that? I would be on it. Does anyone else want to be part of a sub-team to do that? And
I
then,
wouldn't be able to.
can I ask then that,
You gotta retire, man. How are you gonna have fun with us if you gotta work for a living?
Well, in 52 days, I'm going to be down in Disney with my kids and grandkids celebrating our 50th anniversary.
Oh my
That's how I'm going to have fun.
Congratulations.
so for those, all right, so Dick and I will take on the task of trying to do that. and send it out to you. Can I ask that you guys take a look at what is here and feed anything into us ahead of time? So at least give us your comments so that we have those to do the prioritization. And then we will put together a list, send it out for review, and we'll do a electronic vote on that so that we have a total for
That's good.
aligned.
What are we specifically going to be looking at?
So what you're gonna look at is there's 2 sheets of paper that I sent out, and that I think he gave you. One is the coastal areas, and those were marked on the map in red. Every area that there's a red triangle or square or whatever is a proposed area. Those are all listed on this list. And then I put some things on that should have been on there that weren't, but I think there's probably more things that should be on there that weren't. And these are not prioritized, these are just a list at this point. So what we need to do is so anything that you think should be on here as a flood control structure we should be looking at, let's add it so that we have the full list, and then if you could give us your thoughts on what your top 10, say, are. And then on the upland one, or the riverine, which is the yellow one, the same thing. All of these sort of, surrounded areas are their proposed areas that we should be doing some level of nature-based and/or gray-green stormwater mitigation for. Can we, first of all, let's add things that we think aren't on here so that we get our full list, and then if you could prioritize your top 10 in terms of what you think would make the most sense. And I know this is without the data, because to the point you made is we don't know what flood capacity each of these have. So this is more just our gut feeling at this point of what we want them to explore, as opposed to a fact-based.
If I could just touch on something you mentioned before about the possibility of protection,
Adaptation,
was it accommodation?
mitigate, adapt, mitigate.
Adaptation,
Yeah.
and retreat. Seeing as we're a representative of the town, I think we should pretty much restrict ourselves as far as any commitment of resources to things that either directly benefit town infrastructure or benefit the citizens of the town as a whole, not individual citizens. Towards that, I think we should prioritize protection of critical infrastructure, including town hall, fire department, police department, and also roadways that serve as emergency exit routes. And there's not much I see in the way that town infrastructure can be adaptively handled. And retreat, if we have the place that we decide we don't need something and we can put it somewhere high and dry, that would be great.
Like Bigelow Center should probably move within 20 years. Let's not try to adapt that.
Yeah,
It would be very costly, and it'd
Yeah.
be cheaper to move it.
yeah. But,
Well, but if those berms and tide gates hold,
Well, then you wouldn't need to move it.
that's,
But I wouldn't do something specifically just around Bigelow.
that's what they said in New
right.
Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. We thought the levies would hold.
Becky, excuse me, would it
Yes.
be permissible to have somebody not on the board on your subcommittee?
I'd be fine with that. Would you like to?
Yes.
Okay, I need your telephone number then. You
It's
don't
good
do
in Colorado,
you do email,
so I'm
right?
not in a position to help out on this one.
You don't do email? What is your phone number then?
203
Yeah.
556 1558,
I'm not
and that's a cell, so it receives texts.
Okay. So we'll let you know, and you don't have email, so we need to get you information ahead of time somehow.
Yes. Yeah, the Hills people are very kind to me, and they give me pieces of paper when everybody else is.
We would be happy to take your thoughts. It has to be voted on by the full board at the end. That is a board challenge.
yeah, this will be just for you to look over our shoulder and give us your input and your take on things.
Yeah.
Okay. I will print out stuff and get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
We have a couple other things to
Well,
discuss.
let me just say, one, I sent around that spreadsheet where we gave our list of 20 items into Bill plus whoever. Where it got to, I don't know. But on the version I just sent around within the last couple of days, I added a couple things at the bottom. One of the things I added was the Bennett Bond Street area, and the other thing I added was Myron Brook or Myrie Brook or something, I can't remember the name of the street. But that is at the, oh, it's right here, it's right, I got it, it's right here.
We can add those in our subsession though, right?
That was, the reason for that was an area like Bennett and Bond in that rain bomb that happened back in September of 23, was it, 22, whenever it was? That area got flooded out and those people were raising hues and cries because it was all flooded out. I went over there and it's like, so this intersection here got all flooded out. And they have manholes, they have sewer, storm drain manholes there. And they go down underground and they dump out behind this ball field that the town owns. And from there down to, I guess it's London's Brook still at that point. Down to London's Brook, there's a change in elevation of like 80 feet. So there's no reason in the world that they should have a problem there, except if the storm drained pipes are like 8-inch pipes, then they really need to be 24-inch pipes because that's draining a whole lot of hillside down to that area. And that's the same thing I see at your place. If that 24-inch pipe was a 36-inch pipe, it might be a whole different story. So one of the items in our flood master plan is that, I'm sorry, but Public Works has to revisit all of the storm drainage systems in light of today's rain events and upgrade it. That's a big thing to keep the neighborhoods dry, so.
It also could be the storm, the storm drain, the sewer.
Yeah, just plugged up.
Plugged up before it gets.
Right.
The pipe. I've seen in our neighborhood one filled with dirt.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but
basically what we're talking is maintenance.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
have a good
yeah.
maintenance schedule so that every storm drain.
Maintenance and upgrading of the storm
Maintenance and upgrade.
drainage system. That's
Well,
like,
one of the comments that.
that's
one of the
expensive, but
people-
that's the low-hanging fruit. to
That's
help
one of the
a lot
people-
of neighborhoods.
That's what one of the people mentioned, is there's a lot of things like that, maintenance and updating of existing culvert sizes, of pipe sizes. Why don't we do all that first? And
Yes,
prioritize
yes.
that, because at least that'll then presumably work within our existing structure. Then we think about adding new things.
Right.
And time gate repairs. Anyway. All right, so we have a team that's gonna go do that. We will report back via email, because I don't wanna wait till the next meeting to do this. I really think we should get this back to you
Yeah,
But
guys.
you're away next week as well.
Well, I'm available.
But I mean, well,
She can take her
no,
computer.
but I'm just saying, for your timing and our timing, if we get comments to you, you're working on it this week or next week?
Next week. So why don't we say, can you guys get comments back to us within a week?
After we
She
receive
can play flood and erosion while Doug's out skiing.
Yeah, because I don't ski.
Oh,
He
okay.
skis.
Can you be specific as to exactly what you want from us on that?
So I want you to take a look at each of the two areas, look at them separately, the coastal area and the non-coastal, the yellow, let's call it the yellow and the red.
This
Yeah,
stuff.
I get that.
And I want you to look at the list that's on this side and just say, should there be other areas that should be on this list that aren't on there?
And these are areas where
And if
there's,
there's specific neighborhood areas, like, this cross-section, you mentioned the Bennett and Bond, if there are certain specific things that should be on here that we should be looking at, let's add them to the laundry list. And then what I want you to do is take that full list and prioritize what you believe, and again, this is opinion-based because we don't have data.
Right.
What you think the top 10 priorities should be for the town to look at.
Look them straight away. 5 of those schools that are listed on here, I know right off the top, there's no point in even bothering to even look at them.
That's what they.
Well, that's
put
what
every
I'm saying.
school-
I don't know
they
why
put
they're
every
on there.
school on the list. It's like,
So, but you know what? That's why we're gonna give our feedback. Our feedback is to prioritize it for them, because they obviously felt the schools were important, because they're big town-owned properties, and they could maybe have some extra flood storage.
The rejoinder was, you said to look at town properties.
That's what they said. All right, so the next thing I want to do just quickly as part of this is I want to pass around a draft of what I'm going to be taking to, and actually, Dick, you'll be joining us now at this as secretary, and John is going to be joining us. We are meeting with Christine and Frank tomorrow,
What time is it?
1 o'clock, I
I'm
believe.
sorry, Frank.
Frank Batiste.
DPW director.
Oh, okay.
And the objective there is to understand what they believe the role of the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board is, because I don't understand what we're supposed to be doing. According to state statutes, we're supposed to actually, if you want to read this, we're supposed to be planning, laying out, acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, repairing, maintaining, supervising, operating, and managing a flood prevention, climate resilience, and erosion control system. We're supposed to be planning. We should be at least co-running with Bill this plan. We should not be sitting and waiting for Bill to tell us what's going on. We should be actively working with him and the consultants to drive this plan. And I feel like right now, we are an afterthought, that Bill will kind of give us a few
No,
updates.
they've had meetings that you weren't involved in.
Yeah, there've been meeting, my agreement with Bill Gerber was that I would basically co-run the project with whoever the project manager was at that time. It was actually an architect woman who's already left the town. But that was agreement with Bill Gerber. So I would sit on every call, I'd be on every email. And then my agreement with him was that every big meeting, the whole FERB board would be there, and we'd do it as a special called meeting. When Bill passed, David Becker stepped in and said he doesn't want any of these to be public meetings. He felt like the public shouldn't be able to listen to these meetings because we're still in discussion phase. He felt like it wasn't appropriate. And I said, as far as I'm concerned, this is for the town. This is for, I would like people to hear this. I want people to be able to comment. And I think we need to just make sure that we say it in a way that says we're still gathering data, we're still looking at stuff, and we don't have a plan yet, but as we get the plan together, I want public input, because what's the point?
And it could come through you, it doesn't have to come through the first select woman.
So I'm gonna be, what I'm basically, if you go to,
Information from the public could come through Becky or John, doesn't have to come through the first select person.
Right.
so, and I feel like there are things that we don't even know that are going on. Like, you had to find out through the capital plan, through listening to a meeting, that we were even redoing the McLeavey and Riverside tide gates. I mean, we should be signing off on
Yeah,
those.
that whole study, just, we were ignorant of it, totally ignorant of it. Nobody said, oh, hey, by the way, Becky, you know that we're,
We should, so I, on the page 2, if you don't, look at the black section here, so proposed requests of the Fairfield Town Administration during the meeting. I want alignment on whether we're going to adopt Elevation 12, NAVD 88 for all new repairs and replacements to existing flood control structures or not. If we're not, let's understand that and change it.
You're gonna do adoption of a minimum elevation.
Oh, that's a good, okay, good build, thank you. Yeah, because I think some of them would want to be higher, and some are already higher. So I think that we need to get clarity on whether we've agreed that as a town, and I like the build, thank you, on the minimum. I'd like FERB to become an official part of the pre-approval sign-off and the circulation for all projects involving any flood control structure, and pre-approval and review of all studies and bids involving flood control structures. And again, please help me with wording if you have suggestions for.
I have a thought on this, and I think this is fine as is, and I don't want to overreach, but it's not only flood control structures that are going to impact how water moves in this town. Now, there's no way they're going to go, yeah, sign off on every TPC project or every home card and permit they pull, but and I don't want us to drown in everything that comes
Before you
through.
go, it defines what flood control structures here.
Yeah, no, I read that. Yeah, it's pretty broad.
It's a shopping list.
It's a shopping list, but I guess my point is there's more that's going to impact flooding and erosion and our resiliency than just the the evaluation and building of flood control structures, right? Some of these projected developments, some of these
Yeah,
decisions they're
permeable
making
surface.
around all sorts of things are gonna have an impact on flood control, erosion, and climate resiliency. So I don't wanna overreach, because it would be, I think it would be foolish, and I think it would be unsustainable for us as a group. But when I read this, I was like, yeah, but there's more things that they're gonna do
I agree with you,
that
but
are going to have an impact, so.
what's the middle ground here that makes sense?
Well, part of me, I don't know, it could be, maybe the liaison to this board needs to be somebody that has a broader scope than just the projects that are in flight that we already know about.
Well, all right, so I've got a quarterly meeting with Director of Conservation, the town engineer, as well as the capital projects group. Maybe we add planning and zoning Emmeline in there too, so that every quarter, we hear all the things they're thinking about and that's on their plate, and that way we.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I think if it's planning and she's the maestro now, I just think, right?
She is, yeah.
Well, not just such that she is, but if they're building something and they're making decisions about something, about where they're putting it, how they're building it, their stormwater management, every one of these projects has to come through with stormwater management on it.
Just for the record from experience, I haven't designed anything in Fairfield in about 13 years, but 45 years ago, Fairfield was so far ahead of the curve in stormwater mitigation. And for as long as I was in the private sector, I came over to the other side of the counter about 13 years ago. Fairfield was always at the forefront, requiring, as much or more than anybody else for stormwater mitigation for all projects. So I'm comfortable that that's, and Emmeline is, hard to believe, but I've got to say Emmeline, I think, is even more committed to stormwater mitigation than I am. So I don't see stormwater mitigation in new developments as being a major concern in the town of Fairfield.
But she could give you a
I would,
heads
I
up.
would
But you
beg to, I
can-
would beg to differ, because I sat in on all the Porsche meetings and I made suggestions about what to do when their tank overran, and it had all sorts of very simplistic things to do, and we were told we wouldn't do it. And then the same thing with regard to the property they're building up past the Hi-Ho there, and I went to them and they had a very, very strong stormwater. I actually went up and congratulated the young engineer that put it together, and said, I wish you were on all the projects that come through Fairfield. I said, but could you turn this pipe this way instead of it running down into Cricker Brook? And then, so yeah, I think there's a couple people that are really focused on TPZ. Some of them, like Kathy's there, she's holding the line, right? But Alexis is gone. But I will tell you, when I brought this up around Porsche, that level of, dedication to stormwater management, especially as it came to the Mill River, I just didn't feel it had it. And so I agree. And I also, listen, I don't plan around individuals. I plan around process,
Yeah.
right? So Emmeline's great. I love her. It's wonderful. And but life happens. And what happens if it's somebody else? So I like the quarterly ideas.
But there's the board. There's the board. She's not the dictator of it.
No, she's a maestro.
Yeah,
But she sets them up and they knock it down. I mean, the board's got to be, diligent in their analysis of this and their understanding. And one of the big complaints of the board is that all of them don't have, fluid dynamics in their background, right? And hydraulics. I just think, I like the quarterly idea. I think maybe having that triumvirate in kind of the room with us on a quarterly basis to talk about all projects and, how they're feeling about them maybe makes sense.
So add Emmeline.
I'll add director of
On number
planning.
3, add planning and zoning.
Yeah.
In a parallel thing to that, on a different level though, a different infrastructure, when they were proposing the buildings above the Hi-Ho,
Yeah.
I was at the TP&Z, and they were assessing one and one and one, and I said, you're facing a problem, because each one says the traffic report and the erosion and the sewer, sanitary sewer
Below the.
individually
Yeah.
might fit, but if you approve all three, then it's above the board. And they said, oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yes, you need that kind of collaboration and look at as a whole, not each one individually.
I mean, I don't want to overwhelm us with having to sign off on too many things.
No, I don't, that's why I'm saying, I preface my comments by saying, I don't think it's sustainable for us to ask for that. We're not here to be the second, the double checker of the TPZ. That's not what I'm proposing. But my feeling is, there are things other than flood control structure, even with that laundry list, that can impact.
I agree with that.
how,
And the
what
quarterly
happens.
meetings, hopefully, we should have it.
I guess, we could try it.
We can try it, and if it doesn't work, we.
I think that when Emmeline comes here, it's really valuable.
Yeah, no, I love
She's
it
a
when
certified floodplain
That's
manager.
what I'm saying, like, it's super valuable, like if there's a liaison to this board, or a rotating liaison to the board, that.
I agree.
I put in one of my emails to somebody. We're losing Bill Gerber's focus of we're better together. Everybody's in their silos now, and nobody seems to want to talk to one another.
Well, maybe this is a good way to do it, a quarterly
Because,
meeting.
because if you start talking to other people, you're gonna get more work to do, and everybody's up to here in their eyeballs as it is anyway.
Listen, we asked for what they've spent, how far in the project plan they are, and a couple of other details the last time Bill was here.
Oh, and we got nothing.
And even tonight, he's like, oh, I'll have to look into that. And it's not a bill. It's not a bill thing. It's a bandwidth thing. And my point is, I said to him, what is your burn rate? If you're a project manager, there's three constraints, right? It's cost, it's scope, you know what I mean? It's time. And we can't get that out of the team that's running the project for us.
Well, that's the next thing, which is that I think number 4 is we have joint project management of the plan. FIRB, a representative from FIRB, a designated FIRB point person shares equal project management responsibilities with the town engineer, who is the current project manager. And we should be in every single meeting and copied on every single email. Both FIRB and the town engineer work together to align on every recommendation or requested work prior to involving the consultants. Every time you talk to the consultants, it's money. If you ask them to do something, it's money. So we shouldn't be just sending them willy-nilly things. We should say, here's what we want. We want to know your recommendation on X, Y, and Z, and here are the constraints. Please give us that. When can you get us that? We should be very specific about what we want. We should, because if we don't have something, if Bill doesn't have it, then the FIRB person will go chase it down because they have equal responsibility. And if Bill can't get to that, then that person will go to finance and find all that out because Bill doesn't have time. He really doesn't. His bandwidth is crazy.
Item 4C, bi-weekly meetings. Weekly meetings is too much.
I could do biweekly.
We've had, how much time went by between Weston and Sampson's last meeting with the town?
Oh, it's
And-
been almost 3.5, 4 months.
Right, so it's been 4 months, and it's like, the original concept of, this should be done in 6 months. Well, if the team really was on it for 6 months,
It would've been
it could be done in 6 months.
Yeah.
But when this is like this is like contractors, right, John? You take 10 jobs because backlog is king, man. You need backlog. You need to be able to send your guys off to work every day. So you work on this section of highway for this week, and then you work there, and you say, oh, well, we're waiting on material for that job. I mean, everybody plays that game,
And by the
I
way,
think.
there's a benefit to doing that with certain firms, even here as a town, right? Because if they're working on 2 projects in town and you got a machine that throws something, or your material doesn't show up, they can head over to Riverside and work over there, right? And I'm seeing it happen real time.
All right, are we comfortable with the edits that we've made then?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a good framework for the discussion. I think,
And they may push back, let's see what they say, but I think we need to have an ask in the meeting tomorrow.
yeah, and I think this is kind of our first blush conversation, at least mine, with Frank and/or Christine about this project. I mean, you've had emails,
I've
but,
had a lot with Bill Gerber, but that doesn't
right?
mean anything at this point anymore, unfortunately. So, and the agreements we had haven't been followed, so we need to align on what they think we should be doing. And the state statutes, in my mind, are pretty clear that we should be actually running the project, to be honest. But I'm happy to co-run
I mean,
it. I don't want to take this away from Bill. I mean, this is a big thing for an engineer to be able to run a project like this. I don't want to take it away, but I think it's got to be.
He needs the requisite support.
Bill should look at us as another resource that he has to call upon.
He should look at us as a co-project lead.
Okay,
We're not just a resource that he can choose to call on or not.
all right,
We
that's
are-
fair. Yep.
We are
Yep.
a joined at the hip running this together. And if he doesn't have the time to do something, we'll prepare it and ask him to review it and look at it, and then we'll send that to the consultant. Because he doesn't have the time to do a lot of this. He clearly doesn't have the time
Right.
to look at the budget. He doesn't have the time to get an updated project timeline. And that's okay, he's really busy and he's great, and I don't want to take anything away from him.
No, I don't, like I said, this is not a Bill thing.
All right, we are now coming to the end of the agenda. We aren't gonna have a report on the do-nothing valuations because Manish is not here. So I'd like to say, are there any other new business that would properly come before the board?
Yes, I would like to add an item, and that is the Riverside Creek Tide Gate. I sent around, I don't know where it is now. I sent around a draft letter to Mr. Bishop, under whose purview the SRTs fall. I had a brief conversation with him, and we left it that Flood and Erosion would write a letter to him about what we would like to see included in these. And why don't
I did read that, and I read all of your backup. Thank you for sending it.
So what I would like to do is I would like to say at the end of this draft letter that this was reviewed at our meeting today and it was passed unanimous. Our board discussed these comments at our 217 meeting and unanimously endorsed these features for the project. So, did everybody
you
see this? Did everybody
Can you
read it?
Read the letter out unless you have copies for us, because I don't think everyone got it.
Just a
I have a copy.
And I admit, it, I sent this out very late, which is my bad. I was working on chopping up the 29 megabyte report into sections so that I could email them. And this is just on Riverside because as I talked with Tim, and I want to split this up into Riverside and McLeavy because their timing is probably going to be a little different and their attributes and needs are going to be different. So that's why it's split up.
What is Fairfield Mills open space?
That's the open space after you go over the Riverside Creek Tide Gate from Riverside Drive, you go over that path. When you come up to that high ground up there, that's Fairfield Mills open space. I'll double check it, I'm pretty sure that's the name.
So you go through, so when you come from the marina, you go around that sort of berm path and then you get.
Right, you come from the marina where they park all the boats in the
Yeah,
wintertime.
yeah, and then
And then you go over to that open space, that's Fairfield Mills.
Where the big open space is right next to the parking lot.
Right.
And then there's
a kids'
berm.
playground, there's a
Yeah,
kids'
yeah.
playground there.
And there's picnic tables. Then there's a
Right.
berm that goes over to Riverside Drive open space.
Right. And that's
you're-
the berm that the Riverside Creek Tide Gate is in.
Okay, so you're saying the walking path between Riverside Drive, so you're saying the Riverside Drive open space, the berm, and then all the way to Fairfield Mills, which is the open
Right.
space.
Right. If you look at Weston and Sampson's hydrologic report on that, they have a map and they have a red circle around where that berm comes and starts going up
Yeah,
into
they
the high
actually had a
ground.
red circle
And
saying
they
it's
say,
low.
well, this is all gonna come through here.
Yeah, I saw that too, yeah.
Would the berm be higher than the high ground?
No, Fairfield Mills is up at like 14 to 16 feet. So this would be 12 feet.
We're just trying to say, get it to 12 feet, which
Yeah,
is the town approved.
I'm saying add 3 feet, because right now, the preliminary design calls for that path
The
to be
berm is
at
at
9 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm saying we add 3 feet to it to get to our adopted.
So the issue is
Flood
that
protection
that
level.
will mean increasing the size of the berm, which means we're gonna be encroaching on marsh,
we're
which
gonna be
means we
taking
need
marsh.
to be able to give a 3-to-1 ratio back to deep. So.
And if we get the right saltwater exchange there and increase the culvert size under Turney Road, because there's a lot of marsh on the other side of Turney Road, that's all Phragmites now. So if we get the water exchange there, we'll get some nice marsh.
So you're saying we need to then do some culvert work in addition to this in order to make that work for deep?
Yes, yeah, that's number 4.
This seems really reasonable.
So this is not funded then? So number 4 means we're gonna need incremental
I
funding?
don't know, they're gonna need all $2,666,000.
Well, that's Race's projected cost budget, according to their calculations. And that had included a 20% contingency, so maybe that 20% can cover the culvert increased size cost, I don't know.
Well, we have been known to go back and increase fundings, haven't we?
Well, they're approving the funding with the RTM right now,
Okay.
so it's done.
No, we have to do the design, and then when you do the design, you go out for bids, and the bids come in
Okay.
so much more,
So the only thing I guess I would-
money.
So
This is a
the
righteous.
only thing I would then say is after 4, say, this should be added to the cost of the job, or this should be spec'd as part of the job. Since the increased, something to the effect, since the increased berm height will mandate that we
See, I'm
create a 3-to-1.
I'm seeing that as to be developed during the discussion, during the design phase of all this.
They're not gonna remember this. They'll do the design and this will be a long go.
Not if we are part and parcel partners in this.
All right, so that's a good point. So let's see if we get that.
I mean, I broached the subject of it might cost, well,
Any other comments on this? I mean, I'm fine with sending it. I'm just saying, I think we should be more specific about saying that we think this should become part of the project. Because if it's not done, we can't raise the berm. Deep won't let us. We can't show that we're increasing the mark. Any other comments for Dick on this?
all right, so I make a motion that this board approve this communication to Mr. Bishop.
Second that motion.
All in favor? I would only do it if it's amended. I think there needs to be something about deep in it.
Okay,
And-
where do you want, about deep
Just
or about the money?
the money, I think, just, even if it's just a sentence, just saying, we recommend this become part of the project analysis or something like that, and part of the project analysis and budgeting. Something,
Yeah, I think, yeah.
with that amendment, I would approve it as well.
The recommended changes to be incorporated into the project budget.
Honestly, I think they'll just ignore it if we
Yeah.
don't be specific. It just becomes, oh, they threw a suggestion out, but we're just doing the tide gate.
If there's no money to pay for it, what's the point?
They're not gonna do it, yeah. And they won't even look at it. All right. Is there any other new business that anyone wants to bring up? Otherwise, I make a motion to adjourn.
Wait. Okay, so in number 4, in order to maximize the conversion of mixed water to the Turner Road, so a larger volume of water can be exchanged with the tide cycle, Western Turner Road, logical inclusion for this project that should have both restoration of saltwater marshland and flood mitigation as joint objectives, period. New sentence. The slight additional cost above RACE's OPC are a minimal investment in our future storm preparedness.
And we recommend that it be incorporated into the project plan.
And up in number 3, you mean you want it to go to 12, but at a minimum, it should be 10 feet? Right?
No.
No, you want it at 10 feet, that walking path?
I want the walking path at 12, and
Well,
it can neck down to the 10 feet at Riverside Drive roadway.
Yeah, you
Well,
wrote
you
at
actually- the
least
way you
equal
wrote
to
it-
the road.
The way you wrote it, though, it says that they.
All right, so number two says,
Yeah, no, it's very
FER
clear.
requires that it be increased to 12
Number 2 does, but
feet,
number
and then
3,
11
you
feet.
give them the
Number
option
3,
to
the
only
walking
do
path
10 feet.
between Riverside Drive and Fairfield Mills Open Space should be raised to a similar elevation, a similar 12-foot elevation.
Yeah, well, the next sentence, you kind of go against that.
No, that's what he's talking about, the walking path, not the berm.
The walking path is at the top of the berm.
The walking path is on top.
That's the top of the berm. So I would just strike the at minimum, it should be 10 feet, because then you've just
Okay.
undermined your 12-foot.
So it said the walking path between Riverside Drive and Fairfield Mills Open Space should be raised to a similar 12-foot elevation. Strike, at a minimum, it should at least be equal to the road shown on the GIS.
The next period, and then leave the note, leave note.
Target. Note that on page 76 and 77 report, okay?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, you're right, that's talking out of both sides of
It
my
undermines
mouth.
your point.
Yeah, and we fully recognize this extends the scope of the work, and then you talk about the cost of that in 4, so that's fine.
While he's making those final edits, there is one other thing I was going to bring up. We owe, as a flood prevention climate resilience and erosion control board, a biannual report.
I think of that from time to time.
And I'm going to bring that up in the meeting tomorrow, but biannual really we should be doing that in the June timeline, because it's been over 2 years since the statute was passed. So we should be assigning, in our next meeting, we should be assigning a team to prepare a biannual report along with staff. I will put that on the agenda for
So can I revisit the authorization of sending this letter to Tim Bishop? So I make the motion, John, you seconded
I
it?
did, and I do again.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
No.
Opposed? Abstained.
I don't know enough about.
Okay,
to be
abstain?
able to make-
Abstained. All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, the meeting is over. Thank you all for staying so late. This was a long meeting today.